My dear, sweet soul, listen to me. There comes a time when your arms are too weary to carry the burdens of this world. There comes a time when your mind has spun itself into knots, and your heart has grown tired from beating against the locked doors of this life. And in that sacred, trembling moment, when you have done all that you can do, and still the mountains won't move, urge you, child, put everything in God's hand. Yes, everything. Oh, my dear heart, listen close. There is a mighty truth hidden in the folds of surrender, one that many folk will never tell you, because they've been taught that strength looks like clenched fists and furrowed brows. They believe power lies only in loud voices, fast steps, and hands that never stop moving. But I tell you now, the truest kind of power comes when you dare to open those fists, when you dare to exhale, unclench, and say to the heavens, God, I cannot do this alone. You see, surrender is not weakness, child. It is wisdom, is not giving up. It is giving over. It is not collapsing in defeat. It is rising in faith. Oh, yes. The world will mock the surrendered soul. It will say you are lazy, passive narvee. But the world doesn't know what you know. The world cannot feel what your spirit feels in the stillness of that holy release. The world has not stood at midnight with tear-filled eyes and trembling hands and watched God turn sorrow into joy, ashes into beauty, silence into songs. But you have, and that's why you know surrender is not weakness. It is the sound of chains falling to the ground. There are things we were never meant to carry, burdens that were never meant to be ours. But we picked them up anyway, out of fear, out of pride, out of habit. We tried to hold up the whole world with shaking shoulders and hearts grown weary from pretending to be unbreakable. But you cannot heal yourself by hurting yourself. You cannot find freedom by staying in bondage to control. Surrender is not a stranger to me. I've met her in the night, when the pain was too loud and the answers too quiet. I've met her in prayer, when my lips said amen, but my soul still trembled with questions. I've met her in hospital rooms and courtrooms and empty bank accounts and funeral homes. And each time, she came like a warm wind and wrapped her arms around me. Let go, she said. Let God. And I did. And I lived. You see, my child, when you surrender, you are not saying that the mountain isn't real. You're saying you know who moves mountains. When you surrender, you are not pretending that the fire isn't hot. You're saying you know who walks in the fire with you. When you surrender, you don't stop fighting the good fight. You just stop fighting alone. This life will tell you to keep pushing, keep grinding, keep striving. But what it doesn't tell you is that you can push yourself into a grave. It doesn't tell you that your soul needs rest just as much as your body. It doesn't tell you that there is a time for everything under heaven, including a time to stop and say, Lord, I'm tired. I've done all I can. I place it in your hands now. And oh, how glorious that moment is, when your soul finally takes off its armor and bows low before the throne of grace. That moment when the tears fall, not from despair, but from the relief of knowing you don't have to carry it all. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to fix everyone. You don't have to pretend to be okay. You just have to trust. And that trust, my dear, is the bridge between your worry and his wisdom. I have learned that some things cannot be fixed. They must be released. Some people cannot be changed. They must be given to God. Some situations cannot be figured out. They must be placed on the altar and left there. And every time I did, every time I truly let go, I found a joy that the word not give and could not take away. Now, don't get me wrong. Surrender isn't easy. No, baby, it takes courage to let go. It takes bravery to say, I don't know what's next, but I trust that God does. It takes holy boldness to stop chasing control and start walking by faith. But let me tell you something. On the other side of surrender, there is peace. Not just a passing peace, not just a quiet afternoon kind of calm, but a deep, soul-soothing, ground-shaking, everlasting peace. And what a joy it is to rest in that peace, to sit at the feet of God with empty hands and an open heart and say, "Here I am, Lord. Here I am. Use me, lead me, teach me. Take from me what I cannot carry. Give me only what you know I need." Because when God takes the wheel, the ride may get bumpy, but you know the destination is blessed. When God holds the pen, the story may twist and turn, but you know the ending is divine. When God holds your life in his hands, there is no weapon, no storm, no devil in hell that can stop your purpose. So surrender, child, not just once, but every day. In the morning when you rise, say, "Lord, today I give you my thoughts, my plans, my family." At night when the shadows stretch long, say, "Lord, I give you this day and everything I could not fix." Make surrender your lifestyle, not your last resort. Because when you surrender, you don't shrink, you rise. You don't become small. You become wise. You don't give up the fight. You gain the strength to fight the right way. And when you put your whole life in his hands, you'll find that his hands were always open, always waiting, always loving you more than you ever loved yourself. So, go ahead, my sweet soul. Loosen your grip. Dry your eyes. Unfold your arms. Open your heart. And say the bravest thing a person can ever say. God, I surrender. I trust you more than I trust myself. And then watch what he does with a life fully given. Sometimes we walk through life like a ghost wearing skin. Here, but not really seen. Breathing, but still feeling invisible. We sit in rooms full of people, and yet feel like no one notices the quiet storm swirling behind our eyes. Oh, child, how many times have you cried into your pillow, whispering prayers that sounded more like broken sighs than sacred words? And how many times have you wondered if God heard you at all? But let me tell you something I know deep in my bones, something the world can't take away from me. God is present. Right now. Not tomorrow, not someday when you've got your life together, not only in the stained glass silence of some grand cathedral. Right now, in this breath, in this moment. He is closer to you than your very breath, standing beside you like a loving mother, like a patient father, like the oldest and dearest friend your heart has ever known. He sees you. Yes, even you, the one who thinks you're too broken, the one who thinks you've strayed too far, the one who's grown weary of asking, tired of waiting, and unsure of believing. You are not forgotten, beloved. You are not a mistake. You are not abandoned. God's eye is on the sparrow, and oh yes, his eye is on you too. The love of God is not a fleeting thing. It doesn't vanish when you fail. It doesn't dissolve when you doubt. It doesn't grow cold because you made the wrong turn. No, his love is a river that runs deep and wide, and it flows toward you endlessly. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to dance for it. You don't have to dress yourself up or cover your scars. He knows you, all of you, and still he stays. I've lived long enough to know that people will leave. Some will leave without warning, some with cruel words, some because they just don't know how to stay. But God, he has never taken one step away from you. Not when you fell, not when you cursed the sky, not when your faith was paper. Thin, he stood there steady and sure, arms wide like the sky, whispering, "Come home." And oh, what a home it is, this heart of God. It's not made of walls and rooftops, but of grace, mercy, and love that refuses to let go. It's a place where the weary can rest, a place where the shamed are covered, a place where the forgotten are called by name. He is attentive, beloved. He leans in when you speak. He listens when no one else does. Even when all you can offer is silence soaked in sorrow, he understands. I have walked through valleys so dark I couldn't see my own hands. I have sat with grief so heavy it threatened to crush my very soul. And still, I knew he was near. Not because the pain vanished, not because everything was fixed in an instant, but because there was a warmth in the cold, a stillness in the chaos, a whisper in the silence that said, I am here. It's not a loud thing, this divine presence. It doesn't always come with thunder or flashes of light. Often it comes like a soft rain, like the hush before the dawn, like the gentle nudge of a mother waking her child. Subtle, sacred, steady. And once you know that presence, once you've felt that kind of love, you stop chasing empty things. You stop searching for worth in people who only know how to take. You stop bending yourself out of shape just to be seen, because you know, deep down, that you are seen by the one who made the stars. Let me tell you, it is a holy gift to be known completely and still be loved completely. That's what God offers you. He knows your heart, every room, every shadow, every secret drawer. And still he says, you are mine. He doesn't flinch at your mess. He doesn't retreat from your tears. He enters in, takes your hand, and walks with you through it all. Now you may ask, why doesn't he fix it all right away? Oh, child, if only love meant easy answers and instant miracles. But love, real love, walks with you through the fire instead of pulling you out too soon. Love teaches, heals, strengthens, and renews. And sometimes God lets the storm rage so that you will learn to trust him in the thunder, so that you will know, deep, unshakable, he was with you all along. There will be moments when your soul will feel stretched thin, when the silence of heaven feels too loud to bear. But I promise you, silence does not mean absence. Stillness does not mean neglect. God is not ignoring you. He is working. He is watching. He is weaving your story with hands that have never made a mistake. When you cry, he is there. When you rejoice, he is there. When you stumble, when you dance, when you sit in the dark wondering if you matter, he is there, holding you, guiding you, loving you with a tenderness this world cannot comprehend. So the next time you feel small, the next time you feel like your voice doesn't matter, the next time your heart breaks under the weight of life, remember this: you are not alone. You have never been alone. The God who formed you in the secret places, who breathed life into your lungs, who counts every hair on your head, he walks with you. And if you listen closely, in the quiet of your heart, you just might hear him saying, my child, I see you. I know you. I am with you. And I love you still. There is a sacred rhythm to life, like a river winding through the hills, sometimes slow and meandering, sometimes wild and roaring, but always moving forward. And yet, how often do we find ourselves gripping onto stones from the river long gone, clinging to memories, regrets, and pain as if they could hold us steady when the only thing they truly do is hold us back. We are creatures of memory. We carry the past in our bones, in our breath, in the H behind our eyes. The things we've said, the people we've lost, the places we wish we'd never been, or the ones we wish we never left. Oh, the past can follow you like a shadow, long and stretching, whispering reminders of shame, of loss, of mischances and broken promises. But child, listen to me now. You are not what happened to you. You are not your worst day. You are not your biggest mistake. You are not a prisoner of yesterday. The past may have shaped you, but it does not define you. And it surely does not have the right to dictate your tomorrow. What was is gone, and what will be belongs to God. There is no use in building a future with bricks made of sorrow. There is no healing in holding on to wounds you refuse to let breathe. Baby, you've got to release it. Lay it down. Place it gently, reverently, wholly in God's hands. I know that's easier said than done. I know how memories can sneak into your mornings and steal your sleep at night. I know how some names still sting when whispered, how some decisions replay like old film reels. Grainy, haunting, endless. But grace, sweet grace, says you don't have to live there anymore. Grace says you can be free. And freedom, oh my dear, begins with release. Release the bitterness. Release the resentment. Release the idea that you could have or should have done more. Release the image of yourself as damaged or unworthy. Release what you told yourself you'd never forgive. Because the truth is, when you hold on to the past too tight, you cannot grasp what God is trying to hand you next. Let me tell you, I have wept over things that God later thanked me for loathing. I have cried at closed doors, not knowing that on the other side of my sorrow was a blessing too big for my arms to carry. I have begged for things to stay that God needed to remove. And each time, though my heart ached, His mercy showed up with open arms. Each time, though I thought I was breaking, He was building something better. You cannot walk into a sunrise while staring at the night. You cannot dance in today's joy while dragging the chains of yesterday. So lift your chin, beloved. Look forward. Trust the one who holds time in his palm. Trust the one who was there with you in the past and is already waiting for you in the future. God does not waste pain. He does not overlook your suffering. He sees what no one else sees. The silent tears, the brave smiles, the way you carry on when everything inside you is tired. And He whispers, "Give it to me. You don't have to carry this anymore." Some of us are afraid to let go because we've made the pain our identity. We've worn it like a second skin, telling ourselves we deserve it or that it makes us strong. But you were not made to bleed forever. You were made to heal. You were made to rise. You were made to walk light into the world and shine. Don't let what happened then keep you from what God wants to do now. And what God wants to dog, oh, my child, it is beautiful. He wants to restore the years the locusts ate. He wants to turn your mourning into dancing. He wants to give you beauty for ashes, joy for sorrow, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. But you must release your grip. You must trust that what's in front of you is worth more than what's behind you. There is a reason the windshield is bigger than the rear-view mirror. Because where you are going is more important than where you've been. You cannot change the past. You cannot undo what has been done. But you can choose today. You can choose to believe that God has a plan, a good plan, a healing plan, a purpose-filled, destiny-driven, divine plan that leads you joy into joy and not harm, into hope and not despair. And yes, there will be days when fear knocks on your door. Days when you wonder if you'll ever truly be free. That's when you look up and remember whose hand you placed your future in. That's when you say, "Lord, I trust you." Even when I don't understand, even when the path is unclear, even when my heart is still trembling, I trust you. Let God write your next chapter. Let Him be the author, the editor, and the finisher of your story. For what He writes is holy. What He writes is whole. And what He writes will always lead you home. You don't need to be perfect to move forward. You just need to be willing to let go, willing to believe again, willing to stand in the middle of your mess and say, "God, I give this all to you. My past, my pain, my fears, and my hopes. I place it in your hands." And He will take it, gently, lovingly, completely. He will lift the burden from your shoulders and replace it with peace. He will walk with you through the valley and into the light. And when you look back, because we all do, you'll no longer see shame. You'll see growth. You'll see a trail of miracles leading you to where you are now. So go ahead, my sweet one. Open your hands. Breathe. Release the past. Trust the future to the one who holds the stars and knows your name. There is a silence that speaks louder than thunder, a calm that runs deeper than the ocean's floor. And that is the peace that comes when you finally let go. Not just with your hands, but with your soul. When you loosen your grip on the things that no longer serve you. When you stop wrestling with burdens that were never yours to carry in the first place. You make room for peace, the kind that God sends in on the wings of grace. Now, We live in a world that teaches us to hold tight, to fight for control, to gather and hoard and protect. It tells us that if we let go, we will lose. That surrender is weakness. That rest is laziness. That vulnerability is danger. But what the world calls weakness, God calls strength. What the world sees as surrender, God sees as trust. Letting go is not about giving up. Oh no, it's about giving in to something greater. It's about placing your trembling heart in the hands of the one who carved the mountains and painted the stars. It's saying, I don't have all the answers, but I know the one who does. You see, so many of us are walking around carrying invisible weights. Worry sits on our shoulders like a stubborn child. Fear clutches our chest like a thief in the night, and regret plays in our mind like a broken record, spinning the same sad song. And we try, Lord knows we try, to fix it all, to figure it out, to be everything for everyone, to hold it together with clenched fists and tired eyes. But peace does not live in clenched fists. Peace is found in open palms, in the deep exhale, in the whispered prayer that says, Lord, I release it all to you. It comes when we stop trying to outrun the storm and instead learn to dance in the rain, knowing that God is our shelter, our stillness, our anchor. I've known the restless nights, tossing and turning, burdened by things too big for my mind to mend. I've paced the floor, waiting for answers, begging for solutions, praying for clarity. And in those moments, those sacred, weary moments, I learned that peace was not a product of perfection. It was not waiting for me on the other side of solved problems. Peace had been waiting all along, quietly, for me to let go. And when I did, when I finally released my white-knuckled grip on the wheel, I felt it. Like cool water over hot skin. Like sunlight breaking through a stormy sky. Like a lullaby for my soul. That peace that surpasses understanding. That divine stillness that doesn't make sense, but makes everything better. Peace is not the absence of trouble. It is the presence of God. It is the soft assurance that even though you don't know what tomorrow holds, you know who holds tomorrow. It is waking up with uncertainty and still smiling, because you know the King of Kings walks beside you. It is crying and still believing, still hoping, still praising, because you know joy is coming in the morning. Letting go requires trust, and trust is a choice made moment by moment. It's not always grand or loud. Sometimes it's quiet, like choosing not to worry about what you can't change. Sometimes it's humble, like forgiving someone who never said sorry. Sometimes it's brave, like walking away from something that's familiar but harmful. And sometimes letting go looks like simply resting, while the world tries to convince you to keep striving. There is wisdom in surrender. There is holiness in rest. There is power in peace. You are not meant to live in constant turmoil. God did not create you for chaos. He created you for communion, with Him, with yourself, with the beauty of each moment. And the gateway to that communion is trust. Now, let me speak to the one who's afraid to let go because they think everything will fall apart. I see you. I know that fear. But hear this. Sometimes things have to fall apart so that something more beautiful can be built. Sometimes the release is not the end. It's the beginning of healing, the beginning of freedom, the beginning of a new chapter written by a divine hand. Letting go doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care enough to stop trying to be God. It means you recognize that your strength has limits, but God's strength does not. It means you acknowledge that your wisdom has boundaries, but His is infinite. When you stop striving and start trusting, the ground beneath you may not change. But you will. Your heart will beat in rhythm with heaven. Your spirit will breathe deeper. Your soul will remember that you were never meant to carry it all alone. So take a breath, beloved. Release the guilt. Release the fear. Release the timeline, the comparison, the pressure to be perfect. God never asked you to be perfect. He asked you to be present, present with Him, present with the peace that comes when you say, "Not my will, Lord, but yours." The world may not understand your peace. They may look at your storm and wonder why you're not panicking. Let them wonder. You've got an anchor that holds, a Savior who speaks to winds and waves, a God who says, "Peace, be still," not just to the sea, but to the soul. And so, my dear, let it go. Whatever it is, bitterness, anxiety, control, the need to know, the fear of what's next. Place it all at the feet of the one who never sleeps, who never stumbles, who never lets go of you. And watch as your heart begins to quiet. Watch as your burdens begin to lift. Watch as peace settles in like a soft blanket at the end of a long day. For when you let go, you don't fall. You fall into grace. There is a sacred stillness between the moment you let go and the moment peace wraps itself around your shoulders. It's a stretch of soul, a waiting place, a space where doubt tiptoes and fear whispers. But it is also the place where faith blooms. For faith, dear one, is the bridge, the mighty, invisible bridge that carries you from surrender to peace. Faith is not always loud. It does not always shout in triumph or parade in the sun. Sometimes faith is quiet, trembling, standing at the edge of what used to be, peering into what might come next. Sometimes faith is simply choosing to believe that God is who He says He is, even when your eyes see nothing changing. Faith is holding on, not with fists, but with hope, not with certainty, but with trust. You see, anyone can believe when the way is clear, when the bank account is full, when the healing comes fast, when the doors swing wide. But real faith, that ancient mountain-moving, water-walking kind of faith that rises up in the middle of the unknown, that's the faith that changes you. That's the faith that makes surrender not a loss, but a victory. That's the faith that makes peace not a place you wait to arrive at, but a presence you live in. There is a weight that lifts when you place your hand in God's and say, "Lead me." There is a burden that falls away when you finally whisper, "I trust you." Even when your heart is heavy, even when the night is long, faith does not require full understanding. It asks only for full trust. It is like a seed planted in soil you cannot see. You water it with prayer, you feed it with scripture, and you wait. The world may scoff at you, may say you are foolish to believe in what you cannot touch. But you know, deep in your marrow, that your God is faithful, that He who began a good work in you will see it through, that no tear is wasted, and no prayer falls unheard. Faith is not the absence of fear. It is the decision that fear does not get the final word. It's the fire that burns in the valley, the song sung behind prison bars, the strength to stand when everything else tells you to sit down and quit. Faith is the echo of God's promises, bouncing back to you in the quiet places of your heart. And child, it is enough. Your faith, however small, however worn, is enough. The mustard seed kind, the tired kind, the hopeful, but hesitant kind. God honors it all, because faith isn't about the size of your belief, it's about the size of your God. Now let me tell you, there will be days when faith feels like a choice, not a feeling. You won't feel brave, you won't feel sure, but you will choose. You'll choose to rise. You'll choose to speak truth to your weary soul. You'll choose to step out onto the bridge, even when the wind howls and the waves crash. And that choice, that sacred daily, sometimes minute-by-minute choice, is worship. You worship God not just with lifted hands in sanctuaries, but with lifted eyes in storms. You worship Him with the steady, stubborn belief that He is good, even when the night has not yet ended. You worship Him when you trust and keep trusting, even when nothing around you seems trustworthy. And what does faith do? Oh, it makes a way. It clears a path. It builds that bridge from the moment your knees hit the ground in surrender to the moment your heart is lifted in peace. Faith is the in-between, the breath you take before the miracle, the posture you hold while the battle still rages. Think of the saints before us. Think of Abraham waiting years for a promise. Think of Esther walking toward a king who could have killed her. Think of Job stripped of everything and yet saying, "Though he slay me, yet will I trust him." Their faith was not in the absence of pain. Their faith was in the presence of God. So too must yours be. Let your faith be rooted not in outcomes, but in the one who holds all outcomes. Not in the ease of your life, but in the eternal love that covers your life. Faith is not a transaction. It is a relationship. It is not a button you press for blessings. It is a bond, a covenant, a sacred trust. And true peace does not come from life being easy. It comes from knowing that, hard or easy, God is with you. It is the soft hush that sings to you in the chaos. You are not alone. It is the deep exhale that comes when you realize, He's got me. You cannot rush faith. You cannot force peace. But you can dwell in the waiting place with holy expectancy. You can walk the bridge, step by trembling step, with your eyes fixed on the horizon. And as you do, you will find that the God who called you to surrender is the same God who meets you with peace. The bridge may sway, the storms may howl, but your God is steady, and so are His hands beneath your feet. Trust them. Walk on, and let the peace that passes all understanding carry you. You don't need all the answers, beloved. You just need to say yes. Yes to trust. Yes to release. Yes to faith. And in that yes, in that surrender, peace will come. Not like a bolt of lightning, not like a shout, but like the gentle hush of a dawn breaking over your weary heart. The bridge will carry you. The peace will meet you. And your faith, however small, will have built it all.